Let's talk about the discussion board and how I create it. Um, so get into content and then get into syllabus, and I'm in discussion boards here. Um, if you go into the discussion board, if you go up in here into discussions, you will see 15, it'll say units, and there's 15 units, 15 discussion boards, but it's a little deceiving because in 13 there's 2. So a little more on that later. So um, basically, we're doing 3 discussion boards a week, as I was saying in the other video. What you're going to do is you'll click on, go into discussions. Let me just go into this for a second. Let's just go into the very first one. I'm sorry, it's just things move slow when I'm recording this. So number 1 is musical life, and you can see we have all these videos. Here's unit 13, there's 2, 14 and 15. Number 15 is worth 100 points. The rest are all worth 50 points. So each week, as I said, this adds up to 30% of your grade. A review. I want you to read this, a review of discussion board rules. Let's just go into number 1. I can view this 2 different ways. Show all topics, and this gives me everything there is to see. The grading rubric that I use here, and the rules. What else did I? Yeah, I read these. These are really good. I think I found these somewhere in somebody else's class and rewrote them for my class, and really good. Credit your sources and how I grade and how I get to look at your stuff, and write in complete sentences. I need to understand it. Proofread, as I said before, and no chit-chat responses. Read the questions. You've got to read it, and you'll get into a routine. But maybe after week 3, there's different way to do things. I mean, you got to read each set of directions, and make sure make sure you're doing it right. When you why do I get 25 points, teacher? Everybody gets angry. I'm like, well, you didn't read the directions. It's my big thing that I'm always writing back. Read the directions and do it the right way, or feel my fury, people. I will deduct your precious points. And I hate to do that. And for the most part, we get going, and it's a routine, and it's same old after we do a few of these. So let's go on down to, this is kind of good too, how to embed a video into, I should say, D2L. It's easy. You can find these directions and check it out. What to do and how to do it, right? Range between 200 and 400 words, 3 responses over a 3-day period. It could be more. If you post on Tuesday or Wednesday, you have the rest of the days to get 3 responses in. I don't really want all the responses on Wednesday or all in one day, kind of spread them out. Can we get a conversation going? You respond to somebody, they respond back, you respond to them, or vice versa, or some configuration of that. The first one to do, I want you to write something about your musical life. Were you in school band or chorus? Did you ever play an instrument? Are you in the church choir? You play at church? Do you sing to the radio? Do you sing in the shower? You can't carry a tune in the bucket, but you love music? Those are the kinds of stories I want to hear about. So let me know. We all are a product of our parents' music, and our sisters and our brothers and our aunts and our uncles and our grandparents. It's so funny because we all have a hysterical story about, most of you, your grandparents are probably hip as can be, and they love some form of rock music, or who knows. My grandparents were like way old-timey and into maybe some big band, maybe Frank Sinatra and the old crooner singers, and Lawrence Welk. Oh, ugh. There was a big, huge difference back in the day between what our now my parents were raised, the first generation raised on rock and roll, so they loved Elvis and the Beatles and all that stuff. I talk about that all in my musical life, right? Saw my first concert with the band Chicago and all my favorite drummers, and more and more and more. So you can read that. What to do and how to do it, right? So that's a discussion board. Let me go back and see if I can go back into the syllabus about discussions. When you're ready, dang it, I should have showed that to you. There's this button that says Start New Thread. So you click on that, and then you can write your name, uh, Joey Blowy, My Musical Story, right? Write your name and the title of the discussion board. What I'm talking about here is, let's say in discussion board number 2, we're picking blues artists. And so what I would like you to do when there's the subject that we'll all see, I want you to write your artist's name. So write Robert Johnson in the box so everybody can see who you picked. I don't want to see your name because that tells me nothing, and we have to open it up. We don't want to open up everybody's post to see who they picked, because it's points off if you duplicate artists. So the directions are pick artists from the blues artists from the 20s or the 30s. I give you lists, you listen to programs, you have all this information, your study guides of all these people that were talked about, and maybe you saw a few seconds of them. Go to YouTube, find a video, and go to Wikipedia, give us a brief overview of your artist, and then you tell me why you picked them, and what you think of some of their music, and why you picked the song you picked, and then you put the YouTube link in your post. And it can just be copying the link and putting it in there, because we all can right click and open it up, no big deal. If you're fancy schmancy and you can embed it, more power to you. So in your subject box, you put the artist name so we all know who was picked. Read as many responses as you can for a review of class opinions. And like I said before, the discussion boards are all worth 50 points except the very last one. It's roughly 30% of your grade. Some of these, we dissect a song called American Pie. Bye bye Miss American Pie, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry, that song. We dissect all 7 paragraphs, or excuse me, all 7 verses. Excuse me as I belch. And there's a lot of information that I want you to, that's a little different than our video one. So you got to read the directions. Just read the directions. Pull my hair out. Read the directions. It's an online class. You're supposed to read, right? Read. Read. People read. I'm joking, but I'm not, right? Responses at least 100 words. So pick responses that inspire you. After a couple weeks, you're going to know who the good responders are. It's always evident, people who can write well and they have something to say, right? So why don't you be one of the shining examples of how to write good posts? Rewrite, proofread it, and make sure there's no typos and you're in complete sentences and it's things that everything makes sense. Don't use all caps. Rewrite things. I don't know why I've got black splotches popping up. Sorry. And read this. All submissions are stamped with the date and time. I can see, are you on time, or here you were late with one of your responses, but it was 12:15 a.m. and you were 15 minutes late. That's only a few points. So I get to see all this stuff of who's on time, who's not on time, and how many. It's real easy for me to see when I correct how many responses you made, and how to look at your work. A little rubric here. This is even dicey because everybody's got different situations. It may be a conglomeration of these things, and I'm like, shucks, to half points, right? So I'm not going to sit here and try to deduce what the 8,000 things you did wrong in your post, right? So the more I have to think about how many points to deduct, the more impatient I get, and the more take them all away. I'm kidding. Most of you do this really well, and I don't ever even have to look at this thing. But I want you to know that what's going to be taken off, right? And why I take points off. You do all 3 posts at 11:45 the night before. It's going to be probably 12 points off. It'll be a mid B grade for the. Anyways, enough of this, right? I could go on and talk trash to you all day. So that's a little bit about the discussion board.